You've got questions, we've got answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box, where trauma-trained therapists tackle real questions from real people. I'm your host, Lindsay, bringing you grounded insights you can actually use, brought to you by Therapy Utah. Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box. We are here to answer your tough mental health and relationship questions, so ask away. Today I have with me one of my favorite therapists, Kelly King. Kelly, thanks for being here with us.
You're welcome.
It's been a while since Kelly's been here, so I'm actually going to have Kelly reintroduce herself and tell all of our listeners a little bit about her.
Okay, I'm Kelly. I'm a therapist here at Therapy Utah. I love what I do. I work a lot with individuals, families, some couples. I do group work here. And
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's awesome. I love that. So we asked Kelly to come on this episode in particular because this question is about family therapy. So it's a pretty easy question, but the answer I think can be a little bit confusing. So I want us to get some understanding about what family therapy is and when we should look for family therapy. So the question is just that: when is family therapy a good idea? So Kelly, when is family therapy a good idea?
I think there could be lots of points when family therapy is a good idea. Family therapy is really for individuals who care about each other. They're usually in a family, hence the word, but it can look a lot of different ways. So it could be two parents and their minor children, right, who are maybe stuck in patterns or there's a lot of tension or contention and they want to get some outside help and support. That's a great way or a great time to come in. It can be adult siblings who are maybe estranged or estranged even from parents, and we bring everybody together in the safety of a therapy room with a qualified, structured therapist who can really know how to guide that conversation and help people maybe step through the awkwardness, or sometimes there's deep hurt or anger or fear. And a good family therapist will know how to walk a family through that.
Nice. So as you're saying that, I'm thinking that seems like there's a lot of people that could use family therapy, and yet you don't hear about people going to family therapy that often. So why do you think that's the case? Why aren't people doing family therapy more often, more one-on-one?
I wonder if people don't know that it's an option, and it's just as much an option as individual therapy or couples therapy. I wonder sometimes if people are like, well, I don't think we're going to convince, our sister-in-law to come, or I don't think my parents would come, or I'm not sure that my kids would be able to sit through that or be patient enough. But what I would say to those people is that the therapist knows how to guide you through that. The therapist can provide that structure, right? The therapist can talk with a reticent family member who's unsure about coming to family therapy and really has a way. I mean, one of the things I try to do is when we get everybody in the room is let's just take a breath for a minute and relax. Usually I'll make a joke, right? And like, here we all are together. Everybody's a little bit nervous. Nobody knows what we're going to talk about.
How many of us actually really want to be here?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
All of that.
Right.
And so part of what we do in family therapy is let's just make it a little easier and comfortable at the outset. Let's talk about what it is and what it isn't, right? It's not confessional. It's never going to be shaming somebody. We're trying to make it more comfortable to be a family, to give some more tools, to look at some patterns and give some support to a group of people that care about each other but are maybe struggling.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That like this is actually here to help you. This is not to point out who's the problem or what's going on, but it's really to help the family dynamic improve. So as you said something that I want to touch on, you said, there's typically somebody that really doesn't want to come. So what would you do if our listener who's wondering when it's a good time to do family therapy is saying, okay, I think maybe we need to do this, but there's this individual or many in the family that don't want to be there. I mean, what does that look like, and how would you encourage people to go about handling that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've done it a few different ways. I've done it where we've had everyone, in this family group that we're working on just come who's willing, and there might not be everybody there. And we still go ahead and do some family therapy and keep inviting. I've offered sometimes to, like, if the person wants to have a phone call with me, the person who doesn't want to come, right? Or if there's anything I can do to help them be more comfortable. I did a family session last week where we had a single mom and 3 of her adult children and a 4th adult child joined in via Zoom because they couldn't come. And so, and we made it work. And so there's a lot of different options. I think mostly the people that don't want to come, they don't know what it's going to be. It sounds scary. Like if they're feeling like I'm going to come into therapy and everybody's going to get mad at me, or our family's awkward and we don't know how to talk about things, that's a real fear. And I would just say to them, we have therapists who can walk you through that and make it easier than you think it's going to be.
Like it does not have to be miserable.
It's not going to be miserable.
Yeah. It's not going to be.
That's right.
That was a promise. I actually like that. You heard it here, people.
Yes.
Kelly just said it's not going to be miserable. So I like that. I agree with you. And one thing that's helpful to hear is that if there are people that don't want to come, let's include who will come.
Yeah.
And we'll keep inviting. And that doesn't need to be a hindrance to actually doing family therapy.
Yeah.
So when do I know, okay, let's say I come to therapy and I'm, there's problems with the family, but I'm working on myself. When do I know it's more of like, the family needs to be involved versus just me coming on my own?
That's a good question. I would say, a couple things to remember here is that, ruptures or problems happen in relationships, and healing also happens in relationships. And so when that healing needs to happen, if you're coming to therapy and you're spending a whole lot of time talking about your difficulties with another person, a whole lot of time really feeling like if this person would just change, that would be a really good indication. Like, let's invite that person in, because we can't do therapy on a person who's not in therapy.
Right.
Right. It's inappropriate. Right. And then we get into these cycles of that person's bad or they need to change, and it can undermine our own accountability. And so if we're stuck in those cycles, let's invite everybody involved in.
Yes. I love that. So if you're hearing that, it's something's happening with an individual and you're continually saying that, then that's a time to invite them in. Yeah. And if they won't come, then what?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Then sometimes we wait, and we can keep inviting, but certainly we don't force anyone to come to therapy.
Yeah.
So
Never.
Never.
Yeah. But we keep inviting, keep giving the opportunity.
Yeah.
Great. That's really helpful to know, that understanding, like when we're trying to look at one person, or there's a problem that keeps showing up within the family environment, that it's time to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I teach, as you know, and one of the things when I teach about family therapy, I think it's one of the more difficult therapy to provide, actually, because you have so many dynamics in the room. So if a person is coming in and feeling like, gosh, I know I'm the problem. I know they're going to come here and they want me to change or whatever. What would you say to that person who is feeling like they're going to come in and they know they're the problem, or they're contributing to the problem, and they don't want to be there being filleted like a fish, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
I would actually tell that person that they will be really surprised to know they're not the problem, because problems happen in systems, not in individuals.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit. What do you mean by systems?
Problems happen in nervous systems and in reactions in a group of people. So in this case, a family, right? So someone that feels like they're the problem, that's such a single perspective to look at it, right? And I would want to address that shame and help that person realize, like, you're part of a family system. Everybody has impact in that system. Let's find out what's going on. First of all, that you feel like you're the problem. Second of all, if other people are telling you that, what's happening in the family. That's actually a common dynamic.
For sure.
Right? Is to have, you have this family and people are like, well, so-and-so, if they would be different or not be so problematic, our family could heal or be better. I've never found that to be true.
Really?
No.
Really?
No. What I've found to be true is that here's what happens in family therapy. When we can create some safety, okay, which is what a therapist does in family therapy, then the next step after safety is calm. When we can create calm, change happens. And the other thing I would say is that it only takes one person in a family system to change for it to have impact and ripple effect on the whole system. That should be really hopeful to people.
I was going to say, that's amazing, actually, to think about that.
Like, everybody doesn't have to change.
Yeah.
But one change can have a really big cascade effect.
That feels so hopeful, and actually feels really empowering. Like, if one person decides, you know what, this isn't working and I'm going to change my show up, right? In fact, I'm thinking of a couple that I have been seeing, and she has for a long time felt very defensive, right, about a situation, and just said, I can't be vulnerable. I can't do this. I just have to have my guard up. And, I don't know what changed, but she decided that she was not going to keep being defensive. She just said, I'm not going to engage anymore. And when I feel attacked, I'm not going to defend. And it's amazing because what you just said is what has happened. It's like all of a sudden there's been a diffusing, and like this cycle that they were in over and over again has completely changed because she has chosen to change. And nothing's happened with her spouse, right? But she's chosen that her show up is going to be different. So it's that same principle. Like, you can't choose how other people are going to show up, but you can really be responsible for yourself.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And like, it can be so helpful for kids too, like minor children, to have parents in the room. And sometimes, a therapist maybe will call out a parent and just gently correct, like, hey, I'm wondering if this behavior of yours or what you just said that just played out in family therapy, right, might be interfering in your connection with your child and turning to the child. What was that like to hear mom or dad say that? One of the things I do as a family therapist is I'm watching body language and I'm watching interaction. And I learned so much from that. I worked with a family with, I think they had 2 or 3 teenage daughters. And I had asked one of the daughters a question, and she immediately, before she answered, looked to mom. So I noticed her checking in there. And we were able to stop and talk about that, right? What was it that happened that you had to look to mom? What was hard about answering that question? And it really got us into some deeper work to understanding what was going on. And the teenager said to me something like, it felt so good that you saw that, or that you told me that was hard. It felt, and so they can kind of feel sometimes like someone else is seeing it and calling it out. And that feels really good in a family.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I'm curious, in that situation, did they even know that dynamic was happening?
I mean, parents didn't until I highlighted it, right? Because as parents, you're so involved and entrenched in the patterns. And so a family therapist can kind of be a mirror and help. And hey, I'm seeing this. I'm wondering if that's getting in the way of the connection you want to have.
I love that. And really empowers those kids.
Yeah.
Right. To have a voice and to have, and to not, again, get in this power dynamic, but you're that objective third party just going, wait a minute, like this is what I'm witnessing and observing. Yeah. It's really cool. I love that.
Yeah. And sometimes we do really fun things in family therapy. Like one activity.
Therapy can be fun, Kelly.
I know. Let's put the fun back in therapy. But one time with a family that they'd gone through a really hard divorce. And so I was working with a single mom and a bunch of her kids. And we just covered the table with some butcher paper. And we had a bunch of markers there. And I just had them draw, I think it was a river. And we said, this is your life, that you've experienced. I want you to add the flowers in, the things that have been good. You can put some of the rocks in if there needs to be a waterfall. And they all jumped in across all ages, drew this beautiful mural. And then we talked about it. And there was some heartfelt connection about what were the rocks in their path, what were the beautiful vistas next to the waterfall. And it was just this engaging activity that wasn't like awkward, like sit down and tell me how you're feeling. And they had a beautiful experience.
I think that's really helpful to highlight what you just did, which is, it doesn't have to be, we're just sitting there talking, tell me your feelings. And it's this, really overwhelmingly vulnerable experience. But you're saying there's some experiential things that you're doing to really help get some information out and some comfort, I would imagine, with those kids to really express what's going on for them.
Totally.
It's awesome. I love that. So let's go back, practically speaking. We're talking about who should be in the room at family therapy. Is there anyone who maybe shouldn't be in the room?
I mean, that's a great question. And certainly if there's, there might be custody situations where it's not advisable depending on certain levels of tension between co-parents. Although I've done family therapy with a lot of divorced couples who are co-parenting and everyone's in the room, including the children. And that can be very healing. So I don't ever think about it. I guess, usually someone will come and say, we're struggling in this area, or we want to address this. And so those are the family members that are invited in.
Sure.
But I do want to highlight that there are, and I don't think I knew this before I practiced as a therapist, there are families with adult siblings and older parents who, for whatever reasons, there's rifts. They haven't spoken in years. Siblings that are just divided. There was a misunderstanding or some deep hurt, and years are passing by. And family therapy can repair those breaches. Family therapy can invite people into a room who haven't spoken in many years and start the conversation again. It's helpful to nervous systems when there's a person in charge, a person like a therapist who's going to contain the situation or say, now we'll hear from this person. Or if they have to say, we're not going to hear from you for a minute, it just ups the safety And I've seen whole families come back together with that opportunity.
That's such a beautiful thing. As you're saying that, I keep thinking it's really about safety, right? If there's been a breach and you don't want to engage because there's been pain and there's been issues, and this is what always happens. It just always blows up. So why would I even try? But when you have someone in the room, a therapist, that can manage that, then it can keep everybody in a more regulated space to engage and actually start healing. It's beautiful. I love that reminder. So, Kelly, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think is really important that we discuss about family therapy?
I think I just wish people knew more that it was available to them, right? That it's actually the same price to come to individual family as it is to come to family therapy. And that to put trust in a good family therapist, right? That they care about you. They care about their relationships. They're trained. I mean, I'm trained to, I watch body language and interactions and can pretty quickly get in and see, I bet this is where the family is a little stuck or struggling. And pretty fast, maybe with just a few suggestions, we can make some change that they carry outside of the therapy room and into everyday life. That's what's exciting to me about family therapy.
It's huge. It is huge to think about that, like that dynamic can shift. So like pretty quickly, you're noticing it can shift. And I would also think to have everybody on the same page, like we're all learning the same thing. We all know what was talked about in therapy versus individuals are kind of doing their own thing. Right. We were talking earlier before we started the podcast, and I was talking about a family dynamic where they're going through a divorce, and all of the children and the spouse, they're all going through their own individual therapy, but it seems that there's really a disconnect within the family. And I've thought that, like, you know what? I love that they're doing their own work, but bringing them together, and because they're all having a shared experience that's really, really difficult. And so bringing them all together, I think, would be so valuable. And like you said, the price is the same as individual therapy. So why not?
Right. Sometimes I think about how we take our families on these big trips, right? Or small trips, or we want to think, let's go do something fun. I'm like, how helpful would it be to just try out family therapy? Learn about how you communicate. Learn about, maybe learn some skills about how to talk about the things that are a little awkward or hard to talk about. In family therapy, we really dive into how do we impact each other? Right. And it's a high accountability type of therapy in a very good way. Like sometimes we don't think about that. We're part of a system. All of us are part of a family somewhere. And it's good for us to think, wow, I have an impact on those around me. And I care about that impact. I care how I impact others. And that's really what family therapy can support. And I just think it invites people to bring their best self to the people they care about the most.
I love that. Bring your best self to the people you care about the most. Don't we all want to do that?
Yes.
I mean, that is what we all want to do, is how can I show up and be my best self to the people I care about the most? And, I think sometimes it's really hard to see how we're perceived by our family. Like, how do I show up? What does that look like? In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I had a situation where I came home and I was feeling like, man, I feel like I'm missing the mark in some ways. And so I just asked my kids, I said, would you help me to see, well, first of all, back up. I was thinking in the therapy chair, I often hear what people feel about their people in their family, right? This is what I think about my husband or my kids or my whatever. And I thought, if those people actually knew what those other people felt, what was going on for them in this interaction, boy, it would probably serve them and help them. And so I thought, maybe I need to ask my kids, what's it like being my child? And to my husband, I said the same thing. What's it like being my husband? And I'll be honest, I said to them, you're not going to get in trouble. Whatever you say, you won't get in trouble. And it was really insightful. Some really good feedback, some really beautiful feedback, and some really hard feedback. And I was really grateful for the opportunity to hear what that might be like for them. And I would think family therapy would just do even that to a greater degree, like to have a little bit of a reflection, a mirror, that you're not seeing yourself in that interaction, but you're seeing, but to get their perspective of what that relationship is like with you, right?
Right. And that's invaluable. You know, we all have people in our families, our partners, our kids, other people who know us well. They have information about us that we need.
That's right.
And we're grateful, right? Or we want to be. We want to get to the place where it doesn't feel like a threat, and we can be grateful to have that information.
Yes.
You know, and I will also say, like, family therapy is not always fun and games, right? There are some hard and serious moments, but the other side of those hard and serious moments are beautiful. Right? When there's enough safety where we can say the thing that hasn't been said, when a parent or a sibling or somebody can get that insight and it's done within that safety, that's when change happens, right? Insight alone doesn't really cause change, but a new experience with the same people we've been living with or struggling with, that causes real change. And that's what we do in family therapy.
I love that. And again, I keep hearing the word safety. Safety, safety, safety. Why would you say family therapy? Like, is it that container? Is that what provides safety? Is it the therapist? Is it that things are not going to blow up and get escalated? I mean, is that what you mean when you say safety?
Yeah, there are rules in family therapy, or I should say structure. That's a better word, right? There's structure. It's not just going to be a free-for-all where anybody can say what they want. The therapist will coach and guide through that. So I think that provides a lot of safety. But it's also an intentional time where a family is coming together saying, we care about each other so much, we're actually going to do something that's a little bit hard or uncomfortable or new because we want to be better. I think it says so much about a family, right? That we want to improve.
Isn't that true? It's like we want to be better. And I would think even if a family is functioning well, could you always function better, right? It's like we're good, but could we be great? We're broken, could we be good? I mean, we can always look to improve. And it's really a matter of not, we're so broken, we're here. It's a matter of we care deeply enough about each other that we're going to invest the time and money and energy to be doing this.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Kelly, so many great insights. I really appreciate the conversation because I'm with you. I think people don't know it's an option. You don't hear about it as much as individual therapy. So really, really helpful. I love the reminder of, if invite who can come and just keep inviting. And that if everyone doesn't want to be there, that's okay too. It doesn't have to negate, or we can't have family therapy if not everyone is there, but we have who is willing to come, and that it can be half in person, over Zoom. Like, I love that reminder too, that there's flexibility in it. I also love the idea that, if many of our listeners are the identified problem, or they feel like they are, that's a really important part of family therapy, to really look at that and to understand, why is that the case? What's going on behind that's making that person feel that way, or that the family feels that way about that person. And that's just information versus, that therapist is just going to drill that home that they're the problem, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's not the goal.
No.
Yes. The last thing I think is really at the end of the day is family therapy is about connecting with those that you love most. It's repairing breaches. It's making what's good become great and continuing to strengthen those bonds. So really appreciate that. I love all of those reminders, and I'm with you. I think let's use this more. Let's actually bring our families in. When you're talking about a family dynamic that's difficult, that's a great time to look into family therapy. Any other thoughts before we end?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your insights. Always so happy to have you on and learn from you. So for those of you that listened and enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share it with those that you love. We are, again, here to help you find answers to your mental health questions and resources to help you in your most important relationships, and in this episode in particular, in your families. We appreciate you listening, and until next time, take care. That's a wrap for today on the Therapist Question Box. I'm Lindsay Schiss. Thanks for listening, and remember, every question you ask is an opportunity to learn and grow. Brought to you by Therapy Utah.
Hey, this is Kathy Kinghorn. I'm an owner at Therapy Utah. If you'd like to book with one of our trauma-trained therapists, go to www.therapyutah.org. Thanks for listening.